Hello, my name is Susan Harding, and welcome to another episode of City Issues. On today's episode of City Issues, we're going to talk about the City of Frederick Historic Preservation Tax Credit. And today we have joining us Lisa Morosic-Murphy, our Historic Preservation Planner, and Mayor Randy McClement.
Thanks for having us.
Mayor McClement, you were a resident of the historic area.
Yes, I was for 10 years. And I just wanted to say that, one of the charms of the city is our downtown historic district. And a lot of people have a tendency to be concerned with it. They look at it somewhat the same as a homeowners association. But what we want to be able to portray is the fact that it's a great place to live, and it's not quite as scary as people think it is. And the city continues to try to find ways to make it easier for people who live in the historic district. So today we asked Lisa to come in to talk about some of those ways that it's become easier over the years, and some of the things we're working on to make it easier as well. And if everybody ever thinks about the city of Frederick, they think about downtown, and they always usually come and say, "Look at the charm. They love the architecture. They love the way it looks." Well, there's a reason for that, and it's a community and a group of people that help set rules and regulations to keep that air and atmosphere and architectural looking great. So we appreciate that because that's what keeps driving people here.
And Lisa, what exactly is the Historic Preservation Tax Credit?
Well, it was a program that was put into place in 2012. And it was one way that the city was trying to recognize and award property owners who are doing the right thing in the historic district. So a way that property owners who get their HPC approvals and get their permits and complete the work according to that approval can get a little bit of money back for doing the right thing, for investing in the historic district, to help offset some of the additional regulations and time that's required with being in the historic district. So the credit is equal to 25% of the properly documented exterior expenditures for exterior work related to preservation or restoration of a structure that's designated by the city.
And do you need to obtain approval from the HPC for projects before submitting for the tax credit?
You do need, if the work requires approval, you need to have that approval and the permit and complete the work prior to applying for the credit. The credit can also be used for items that don't require approval, such items on our minor rehabilitation list, like painting and other minor repairs, repairing windows, indoors, things like that.
Now, how would I find out whether my project required approval or not?
We have the minor rehabilitation list. It's posted on our city on the Historic Preservation website. It's also available in the planning department, and you can always call the planning department at any time and we can let you know. But that's the list of work that does not require any approvals.
And now how would a resident go about applying for this tax credit?
Well, every year on April 1st, you would want to gather your receipts and your photos and all your documentation from the work that you completed in the prior year. So for example, in 2015, you would be applying for work that you completed in 2014. It's a simple one-page application form. There's no additional fees or anything associated with that, but you would need to submit photographs. You would need your receipts or invoices marked paid, and then also proof of payment, such as canceled checks or credit card statements, paid to a store for supplies or to a contractor.
Isn't there a City of Frederick Preservation Award?
There is. We also have another program that's the City Historic Preservation Award, and that's been ongoing for several years now. And every May during National Preservation Month, the mayor hands out the awards, usually towards the beginning of the month at one of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen meetings. We have awards in 4 categories: rehabilitation, new construction, stewardship, and community leadership.
And they're always usually really neat projects that come before and get the awards, and it's neat to see what they do throughout the year and how they help rehabilitate their property.
Can you describe one? Just tell us about one maybe that comes to mind from maybe last year.
There was a project actually right here by City Hall,
okay.
All Saints Episcopal Church.
Oh, sure.
They were awarded the Stewardship Award, and they, over many years, had put a lot of money and time into restoring those buildings in great detail and replicating very fine details of trim, doing everything properly that you would, the best preservation methods.
And that project you could see from Court Street as they were working on the facade of one of the old buildings, and you saw from the start to finish how they took away, stripped down, got back to the original, worked their way back up to into the end project. It was almost like a time capsule scenario. You could watch from the start to the end. So it was kind of cool setup on that one. So I lived for 10 years in the historic district. Lisa lives in the historic district, and we know what it takes to do. And I've told the story a number of times about the house I used to live in was built in 1899, and sitting in the living room and letting the wind come right into my house with the windows closed was not fun. So I went through the process, and literally they said, well, you can pick from these different types, and here's some places to go. And I just so happened one of the ones that I wanted was on the list, and literally within days I had approval to do it. So it's not hard, it's not scary, it's not easy. There's a lot of administrative approval. I would have to say defer to Lisa, but I'm sure there's probably more administrative approval than there are the longer workshop board commission meetings.
I know people think of HBC and they have this fear that they're going to be months, years getting through the process, but that's not so, is it?
That's true. Our administrative approval applications every year are about 2/3 to 3/4 of our applications, and those are typically approved within 3 to 4 days of receiving a complete application. The commission is meeting two times a month, so a lot of applications can be resolved in between 3 and 4 weeks from submitting an application. And you mentioned the storm window application you had. If you were applying for that today, that would be something you could apply for the tax credit for. So the cost that you spent on your storm windows, you would have been able to get 25% back on your property taxes.
And that's great.
So that's
and that kind of thing is in my thought process, is a fairly overall inexpensive thing that does help the overall efficiency of your home, but it does keep the aesthetical look that we're looking for, to keep the charm. So it's a great balance, and then on top of that, you get the potential for a tax credit on it. So
yeah, what other things can people get tax credits for? Can you name a few?
Sure.
Just to give people an idea.
Replacing roofs, repointing. There's a lot of applications. We see a lot of applications for those two items. Restoring or repairing architectural features. So if you need to repair your porch, replace the decking on your porch, something like that. If you were going to, for example, install shutters where there was documentation that there previously were shutters on that building, and you applied and got your approval, you could get a tax credit for something like that. And that would apply to other types of architectural features, like restoring a cornice that was missing, something like that.
And so where would someone go for this application?
You can go to our historic preservation website. It's www.cityoffrederick.com/preservation. We have all the tax credit forms on there, plus a tax credit guide, which gives you some examples of the types of projects that are eligible, and also a list of some things that are ineligible.
Okay,
great.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving us this information.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
it's important, and always try to do things to keep people updated, and especially this for the tax credit. It's always good to be able to get some way to get your money back for part of your money back for doing repairs to your homes.
And thanks for taking some of the mystery away of HPC, and it's not the scary process that people may have thought it was. Is there anything else you want to add today about historic preservation?
I think the only other thing would be to take a look at the City of Frederick Historic Preservation Commission Facebook page. We do post a lot of updates on there about things like when the tax credit deadline is coming up, and also when the deadline for our awards program is available on there, plus other just general information about historic preservation and workshops that may come up from time to time.
Mayor, is there anything else you want to add for the
No, just
discussion?
thank Lisa and the commission for all the hard work.
Yeah, and his downtown Frederick is beautiful and very historically preserved, and that is a great thanks goes to the Historic Preservation Commission. I mean, the guidelines are there, and they're there for a reason, and it certainly shows in our downtown. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you,
Mayor.
for having me.
And thank you for joining us today for another episode of City Issues.